to the Preacher and the Catcher podcast, a show designed to make you think. This isn't a religious show, and neither is it a sports show, regardless of what the title might suggest. These are real conversations that everyone should be having. No topic is taboo, and every perspective is explored. Now here's another great episode of The Preacher and the Catcher.
We are back. Sound the alarm. Let me tell you something. It's been in the words of an old song, it's been a long time coming, but a change has finally come, huh? Brian Johnson, Preacher and the Catcher. I'm Devin Goff. This is Brian Johnson. The Preacher and the Catcher is back.
We are back.
It's so good to see you.
Good to see you.
Well, it's not like I don't see you.
Right.
Let me not.
You got to say that though. This is Hollywood. This is TV.
That's kind of what they say.
Right,
It's been so long.
Right. It has.
It actually hasn't. I saw you Sunday.
That's right.
No, I
And every
actually
Sunday.
and every Sunday.
What we got to talk about? Who cares how long we've been back?
Well,
What
first
we
of
gonna talk
all,
about?
thank you to the Underdog Network for not throwing us away.
Important.
That's important because I feel like, you have something to say. I'm just riding your coattails.
Sure.
So
As it should be. We got to control our laughter.
listen, it's
moving.
going to be impossible, but nevertheless, good to be back. Hey, listen, NBA playoffs. I'm ready to just.
Right.
Because what's going on with your Warriors, man?
For those people who are outside of Dub Nation,
the
want, because we've dominated for 10 years, save 2 years.
Wait a minute.
When we were all hurt.
Wait a minute.
When we've been healthy, we've dominated the field of play.
Milwaukee has won a championship. LA has won a championship.
That's when we were hurt. Who won last year? I can't say it's very much longer, perhaps.
Okay.
As we speak, the Sacramento Kings are up 2-0 in the first round of the playoffs. Sacramento looks amazing. The Warriors don't look as good so far.
What does the Fox say? I mean, that kid.
Oh, De'Aaron Fox is like lightning coming out of there. But just the whole team. I mean, Harrison Barnes is great. Sabonis is great in the center. Even though he's a little dirty.
He's dirty.
He grabbed Draymond's foot. What are you supposed to do if somebody grabbed your foot and you're trying to get down the court?
You're trying to run.
What are you supposed to do?
You come down wherever you land. That's where you land. It is what it is.
And it's not Draymond's fault that it happens to land there if the boy's holding your foot.
The problem is that, Draymond's track record goes against him.
However,
didn't even give him a chance.
Right. I can understand the kicking out of the game. I understand the technical foul.
Yeah.
All for that.
Sure.
But suspension?
No.
Because of who Draymond is. So you're saying it wasn't enough in 2016 when he got suspended, served his time. It's not enough that he served his time this year, like a couple other players.
I'm going to tell you
got
why.
A certain number of technicals, you serve your time, you miss the game. But now you're saying he has to repeat the errors of the past and still pay for previous transgressions?
I'm going to tell you why.
Man.
I'm going to tell you why.
Come on, Adam Silver. What are we doing? Joe Dumars, your boy.
There it is. It's a new sheriff in town. Joe Dumars has to, especially because
the bad boys.
I know, but
one of the bad boys.
And here's the thing. And Joe and Draymond, they're very close. Like, I know this personally.
Right.
My old barber, who kept me tight for many years, I'll just say that.
Tight.
Cuts both of their hair. I mean, Joe Dumars' son and Draymond very close. So it was like, he had to come out the gate to show that he's the right man in the job. He's not going to show partiality.
So did he go overboard?
I feel he did. Yeah, I'm telling you right now, Joe Dumars, I feel like you took this thing on Draymond a little too far, and it was totally based on all of his previous actions, not based on that isolated incident.
No one was anticipating that Draymond would get suspended.
No.
All of a sudden, boom, he's suspended for a game. Come on.
And not the other guy.
Right, exactly.
I hate to make this about a race thing, but I mean.
Well, there we go. I didn't even think about that.
Another international player who does not get anything, but anyway.
Good point. So who's the best team in the NBA so far in the playoffs?
Do you have to ask me?
I
Do you have to
I forgot who I was
ask
talking
me?
to.
You mean
Go
that-
ahead.
you
Let's
mean-
hear the Bron
You mean
story.
who?
Let's go.
You mean who is the best team since the trade deadline?
They
It's
did fantastic
They
in the
did
trade.
fantastic.
They did.
Since the trade deadline. Even when LeBron was down, they continued
That's
to
right.
perform at a high level. You're asking me who's the best team in the
Yeah.
playoffs right now?
Yeah.
You mean the fact that they beat Memphis with Ja Morant in Game 1 in Memphis?
That's right.
You're asking me who's the best team? Oh, the Los Angeles Lakers,
Yeah.
led by King James.
I
Yeah.
like it. I like it.
But I will say this though.
Well, and make sure you give credit where credit is due as well. The trades were great.
Rob
Getting
Pelinka.
rid of Russell Westbrook was
Oh,
great
yeah.
too.
Get him out of here.
But to Russell's credit, he's now doing a great job
Yeah,
with
he
the
is.
Clippers.
He is.
Didn't do that great during the season. There was
did
off
not.
and on.
He did
but
not.
in the playoffs, Russell's stepping up.
And Pat Bev, you got to go.
Right.
You got to go.
Right.
The other thing that I will say though, I may shock some people with this. AD's got to go.
Ooh.
This is after this season, win or lose, AD's got to go. Last night the man had 10 points. If you had just given us your average, we beat these guys.
Yeah.
We're up 2-0.
Yeah.
We need to end this series in 5 games or less.
Yeah.
Now we're forced to at least 5 games because we need our rest going into whatever happens between Golden State and the Kings.
Good point.
AD has to go. This is the year. I want him to do well so we can get the maximum that we can for him because we got to ship him. We got to move him. I'm sorry. He's just, Charles Barkley calls him street clothes. And then when they asked him, why you call him street clothes? Because he says, every time I see him, he's in street clothes. He's always hurt.
Yeah.
He's as fragile and as brittle
But wait a
as
second.
the crispy edges of a brownie.
Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and KD together, you don't think that's going to be enough to do some damage?
No, I don't.
And Ayton in the middle, you
No.
don't think that's enough?
You had Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden.
Ugh, don't get me started on that.
And we saw how that blew up.
However,
How that imploded.
Michael Porter Jr., the big boy, Joker, and your boy that put up 40 last night, pretty good team right there. The Nuggets are going to be really hard to beat. As dangerous as the Lakers are, with Jamal Murray healthy, with Michael Porter Jr. healthy, and the rest of the dudes they got going along with Joker, they got to be the team to beat, in my opinion, in the West.
Zero experience in deep playoff situations.
But in playoffs, they've been in playoffs, not deep playoffs.
Yeah.
Great. I agree with you there.
And because, every round goes a little bit higher and higher.
Right.
And it requires a different mentality. It requires a different coaching ability, which I think they have a good coach. So
Yeah.
I'm not knocking him. But I just think that there's some advantages that LeBron. Did you see LeBron at the game last night? I mean, he's in the huddle and he draws up a play. Like he just says, "Hey, no disrespect, Ham, but let's erase all of this and draw this up." And it worked perfectly. I mean, executed perfectly. For me, I just don't. If they remain healthy, say what you will or may, LA will be crowned the NBA champion, and LeBron will have ring number 5.
So
Mark my
for
words
me,
right
hands down, the Celtics are the best in the East. Do they knock out the West? Are they going to beat the West this time around? What do you think?
You're saying, well, Giannis is hurt. Because I was getting ready to.
He'll be back. He's a unicorn. He'll be back.
He will. He's strong. He's built like an
Oh.
ox. So I believe he will. Before we just jump there, can we just give some credit to Joel Embiid?
Oh. Yeah, he's nice, but that game, that offense doesn't work with you got the center dominating the ball all the time.
You don't
It
think
looks
so?
great with his numbers. Looks great. And if Harden happens beyond, but Philadelphia has been really good talent-wise for years.
Yeah.
And have nothing to show for it. Got a good coach, got MVP.
Is it the coach?
Nothing to show for it.
Is it the coach though?
Well,
is it?
That's
Is-
by default.
Is Doc
if
the
you're not
issue?
going to blame the players,
You gotta
sure,
blame the
the
coach.
logical next step is the coach.
I got you.
But the coach has won championships. Who else on that team has won championships? Not Joel Embiid.
Not Joel Embiid. Not James Harden.
Tucker has. Well, he's been close. He hadn't won one. No. He was there in Toronto when they won? No. Anyway, regardless. Doc Rivers, been there, track record, done it. His teams are always in the playoffs. I don't know. I like Joel Embiid, but I wouldn't have him as my touching the ball as many times as he does. It slows everything down.
So when the Celtics play the 76ers, you think Boston's going to win hands down?
5 games. I put up 4, but I meant 5. 5 games. Celtics wiped the court with the Philadelphia 76ers.
Clap your hands. Stump your feet. We are number 1.
Know what I mean, not what I say.
He said Celtics winning 5.
Moving on. Yeah, that's where we're at.
Oh my goodness.
$787.5 million.
Oh my goodness. You know,
with no apology,
when I
no
saw
acknowledgement, well, hardly the lightest, most obscure acknowledgement ever. But hey,
the thing that was the most interesting,
they got their money. They got him to admit it.
What we're talking about here is the case or the suit from Dominion to Fox News.
Yeah.
And how it was a defamation case, and how they sued Fox News for defamation of character of their company, from the past presidential election.
Correct.
The thing that was, now, the amount of money that they had to pay, okay, that's one thing. They have it. They have deep pockets. It is what it is. But that wasn't the most interesting thing for me about that whole case. The thing that was the most interesting to me about that case were the text messages that were released from Fox News employees, Fox News anchors, Fox News talent.
About their own people.
About their own people.
Incredible.
About Donald J. Trump himself. About this entire election.
But will the Fox viewers ever hear about it?
I mean, it was there in writing. But you know what they say. You want to hide something from folk, put it in writing. But I just need somebody to actually tout this thing from the mountaintops.
Right.
I mean, Tucker Carlson basically says, he says, I hate him with a passion.
Right.
But on screen, he's like defending him from the mountaintop.
Right. I was disappointed in the settlement for my selfish reasons.
You thought it should be more?
Well, money aside.
Okay.
I wanted to put Fox News under the jail. I want everybody to be exposed. I want the truth to come out, and I want Fox News to pay, and I want them to feel pain. To your point, $787 million, they got that in the ashtray, in the truck. That's not going to hurt him. What's going to hurt him is go through the whole trial, have Hannity and all these guys testify. But again, selfishly for me, but I got to remember that the company that is putting all the millions of dollars to fight this juggernaut that is Fox News, they got to pay attention to their needs. They got to do what they got to do, so I can respect that. But as a citizen, I want Fox News going down. And so what's nice is that there's a whole list of different cases coming for the same purpose to take Fox News down because of defamation. I'm all for that. Smartmatic wants to get them for $2.7 billion with a B.
So this was just kind of like a precedent-setting.
This was the appetizer.
Oh, wow.
The main course is coming.
I love a good appetizer.
And it's chipping little pieces off the iceberg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I respect, they had to get what they had to get. They had to get the money. They had to move on. So I read an article the other day that said perhaps they took that deal so that Smartmatic could jump in and do what they got to do and move the ball forward. I'm good with that.
To just submerge their heads up underwater.
Yeah.
Somebody has to hold these news stations accountable. Before, I don't know, maybe before 2016, maybe even a little bit before 2016, I don't know if I ever heard the term disinformation. When people started saying it, in my head, I started saying, nobody's going to correct them. The word is misinformation.
I'm the same way.
Until we finally
I looked. I wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
But after 2016, I was like, okay, I need to read a little bit more. I need to check some sources a little more.
Way.
So right away, I became more savvy. But that's how that orange fool got into the White House, is because none of us knew what they were doing at the time. So that bothers me.
Yeah, no, it does. And it
just win the game. If you're better, win the game.
Okay.
Don't cheat to win the game. Just win the game.
So let me ask you this. Does he get back in next year?
No. And here's why. And I said this before in the last election, the last time we talked about this. His numbers are only going down. He's not gaining market share. He's not gaining people to come back his side. He has a certain amount of audience. They're devoted to him, absolutely. But people by every passing day are saying, he's too much for me.
Maybe not by the thousands. I don't even know if by the hundreds. Maybe like by the tens, they may be bowing out, like this group of 10 bows out, and this. I
would agree that by the tens, people are actually admitting it out loud. But I would say there are hundreds that are saying it behind closed door because they don't want the wrath of the MAGA movement to be, harassing their kids at school, to be harassing, standing outside their house, sending death threats. That's their game, is to send death threats and to scare people into following what they believe.
But has the other side done enough to warrant to say we're that much better?
Yeah,
let's talk about Joe Biden.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's roll him out here.
Well,
because you're not going to get much more than that.
Okay, but you got to open it up. It's not just Joe Biden.
It's not.
The Democrats since Donald Trump has been on board have been fantastic. Where are the independents? Independents don't say a word.
Fantastic is a strong word.
Democrats are the only ones that are fighting disinformation. They're the only one that's fighting and sticking up for democracy. Democrats are not perfect.
Not by a long
time. Historically especially. However, in 2023, only one Democratic Party is standing up against racism. Only one Democratic Party is standing up for democracy. You're not getting that from Republicans any form or fashion. So, Joe Biden's never been my favorite candidate. The last primary for the Democrats, there was 10 other candidates that I like better than Biden. However, whatever. Democrats need to keep control and need to make sure they win coming 2024 because the alternative is scary.
My issue is this, and I'm going to bring it down locally.
Got it.
Right now, locally, here in Michigan, we have a Democratic governor.
Yeah. Both houses.
Yep.
For the first time in 40?
Yeah.
40 years.
At least.
First time to have both houses of government and the governorship. Sorry, go ahead.
So here's my issue. In a city here in Michigan, a city that I love, actually where we're shooting this podcast episode, city of Highland Park, which has had a litany of issues itself.
Sure.
But right now, this city is faced with a big issue with the water department. I know it's a different kind of slate because up in Flint we had, corrosion pipes and all this stuff that Snyder did. But this even dates back for how this started, even back to Snyder's day, and the implications that he had and the effects that came in the city of Highland Park during this particular time. But right now there is a quest to shut off the water for the city of Highland Park because of an unpaid bill. And right now they're saying that the governor is weighing her options.
Whoa.
I have a problem with that because you mean to tell me that a Democratic governor who ran on the premise of, hey, I'm going to do right for all people, not just the some out in the suburbs of northern Oakland County and wherever else, but for all people. Now you're talking about weighing your options when it comes down to a basic, essential human right that this unregulated body of people at this company, GLEWA, the Great Lakes Water Authority, are basically saying, hey, if we don't get our money by X amount of time, then we're going to shut the water off to the city. What? Who does that? And why isn't there a more aggressive slap on the arm or push or binding of this company from our state officials? I mean, who can literally come and say, hey, we can make this thing right. We can do what we need to do. The fact that it's not happening grieves me. Because
when's the deadline?
Well, I mean, they were in court today, and I haven't heard what the final ruling of that is.
It sounds like there's a history there.
Oh, it's a long history.
There's a whole lot there, but
history.
I completely agree with what you're saying. My hope, and that's what I like about the Democratic Party, is that you can disagree.
Sure.
You're not going to get death threats from this party. You're not going to get shouted down on TV because you disagree, because you have an issue with them. And that's my whole issue with the MAGA movement, folks, or Republicans in general. I got no problem with the way people think that may be different from me. But hold your leaders accountable. Just like you're talking about is a beautiful example of holding leadership accountable.
Yeah.
Bring those things up. Fight for people other than your own self and your own self-interest. Even though we're in Highland Park. Highland Park's a big deal to us because our church is here, right? Your church is here. So I completely agree. But that's how democracy works. Hold your leaders accountable. Hold everybody accountable. And then we move on. We find a solution. We move on. We don't get that anywhere from the right.
No,
agree or disagree?
No, I agree with that. I agree with that, and that is a problem.
But I agree, it's a big deal. I don't mean to overlook what the point that you made up. Great point. Completely agree. I'm hoping that our leaders will find a solution that works.
I hope so too. Our governor right now is in D.C. Getting an audience with the vice president. Who knows what's going to happen? Because I mean, evidently she feels like she's not getting anywhere with our state government, so she's going to the next level, trying to do whatever she can to bring some hope and just uplifting, because right now the people in this community are just downtrodden. Because
I remember seeing a headline of that sort, but I didn't put I didn't look into it.
Yeah.
Now you put it on my radar screen. I need to look into it because it's a big deal.
It's a big deal, big deal.
Especially in a state that has gone through the Flint water crisis already.
Yeah.
You know, just down the street. It would seem that there should be a little more imagination for getting a solution.
Absolutely.
So hopefully that'll come.
Yeah.
What about your boy, the preacher and the resurrection
do we want
show?
To do this?
What being of the cloth, being a man of the word? What is your opinion on your boy and his church?
Well, I don't know him personally.
Disclaimer running along the bottom.
I can't say he's my boy.
I never have, nor have I ever known him.
Right.
In my lifetime. However.
So we're talking about Mike Todd and Transformation Church. Big mega church in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Tulsa.
Yeah. He took over the church maybe about 7 or 8 years ago. Has done great things. He's a very well accomplished author, New York Times best-selling author.
Musical talent?
He has some musical ability. Well, that's how he started. Actually, he is a music producer. But yeah,
it's a big church.
It's a huge church.
Really?
Oh yeah, they're called Transformation Nation. However, so this is what's happening. Their big Easter production called Ransom. It was a production like you saw
share with
on
the people
Grammys.
why Easter is important in the eyes of God.
It's the Super Bowl.
Some people may not know the story.
Okay, yeah. Some people may not know the story. I mean, well, it is the day that we commemorate the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And so after he was publicly crucified.
Correct.
Publicly crucified on a tree, on a cross.
Right. Tortured.
Crucified. Oh yeah, I mean flogged.
Killed.
I mean, so that is the apex or pinnacle of our faith. That is the thing that differentiates the Christian or the believers in Jesus Christ from any other religion, is the fact that our God died, but he didn't just die. 3 days later, he rose again.
Sure.
And so that is the differentiating thing. So we celebrate that on Easter, Resurrection Sunday, so forth and so on. So the biggest thing is that this production that was put on by this church, Transformation Church,
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
In Tulsa, Oklahoma. Some would say, now I will be honest and say I did not watch the entire production. It was up, but now it has been removed. The church has removed it from its social media platforms. No longer can you view it on YouTube. Their talks.
And why did they remove it?
Well, there was a lot of backlash that came.
Why?
Because people felt like it was not a good representation of the redemption story of Jesus' resurrection.
Did they have a problem with some people may be offended, or do they feel like God might have been
They took it down because they
disrespected or put in a light that was not was not cool.
From what I have seen, I don't think they felt like they dishonored God in anything. But the people outside their circle there are a lot of people outside their circle who feel very differently.
And you think the goal from Mike Todd and his church, their point of view, the way they see it is what?
Well, he said it. He said, hey, we're going to go to the edge on this thing. And I mean, they went to the edge on it. I mean, the production was which I don't have a problem with production levels. I actually love good production. I think quality within the church sphere should be elevated. But all that you do needs to be very, very, very closely aligned with Scripture, making sure that it's theologically sound. And so you had girls up on the stage talking about, their fat behinds, or making sure that their butts were plump. I don't know how that works into.
Right.
I don't know if they were like a modern day depiction of the women who went to the tomb. I don't know if they were like Mary Magdalene. Okay. I don't know. I just don't know.
Okay.
Trying to figure out how that played into it. I can't tell you how it did.
Okay.
But I mean, there were just some parts that I saw from the clips that I saw. And again, I'm very careful not to take things out of context because I did not see the full thing.
Sure.
But from what people are saying and even how they have responded, it has led us to believe
what has been their response in
their
connection with the removing it from? Because if they really felt strongly about it, would they not keep it on there and say, hey, this is our whole point. We wanted to get it out there. We wanted to be edgy.
Sure.
We wanted to bring light to this. What is this?
I'll be honest. The reason that they gave for taking it down was because they're going to take Ransom on the road and do Ransom Live and take it all over the country.
Nope.
And so they didn't want to keep it up on, from what I heard from the lady who is on staff at Transformation, who said what she said. They didn't want to. They took it down so that when they begin to take it on the road, people won't say, "Well, I already saw it. It's on YouTube."
Whoa!
Oh yeah, like they're not backtracking to say like because we offended you. No. They're 10 toes down to the ground, doubling down.
Wow.
Oh yeah, like so again. I am a grace-filled guy, especially when it comes to pastors and other churches and their work of the ministry. Just because I want that same grace to be extended to me if there are things that I may do that may be off the beaten path.
Sure.
At the same token, I do feel like there is a space and a place for healthy correction, healthy discipline, a healthy reproof to be had. But I don't know if I agree with that being done in public spaces like a lot of pastors or a lot of theological pundits, if you will, are making of it. I pray for them. I pray that God will continue to use them to reach a lot of people for the kingdom. But what I did see was concerning.
Do you have a feel for your pastor buddies around the country? Because I know you got a nice network of pastor peers and friends.
Yeah.
Is there a consensus? Is it divided? Where are they at?
Without going into too much detail, there is some concern, especially with him, specifically because this isn't
previously
the first time.
Or just this instance?
From this instance, people are starting to say, hey, we're seeing a pattern of behavior that's just not consistent with what the Bible says, a pastor should be, and the reproaches that have been coming against him. I don't know if you heard or if you remember, there was a video clip that went viral because he was doing an illustration in his sermon, and it was about the man who Jesus healed, who was blind, and the Bible says that Jesus took some dirt and he spit in the dirt and made a little mud pie and he wiped it, and so in his illustration, Mike Todd, he spit and wiped the spit on a man's face.
Oh.
This is the illustration on his Sunday sermon. Now, it came out that the guy that he was using for the illustration prompt was his blood brother, was his brother. Yeah. But still, now, mind you, let's go even further.
But wouldn't he say that's biblical?
Hold on. This was in the midst of the pandemic too. I'm sorry. I had to give the full thing because to me, that's what made it a little worse.
You mean when over 1 million people died
I'm trying to tell you.
Interpersonal contact?
I can't make this
That
up.
pandemic?
That pandemic. So again, but maybe it's because it was his brother and they felt like, hey, we're coming from the same blood.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just presenting to you what has been out there. Yeah, that's the moment. So this is the same guy who went viral because of that. He also has hired Carl Lentz. Carl Lentz was the former pastor of Hillsong, New York, who got caught in a sex scandal. And that ended up leading to a fallout of all things Hillsong. I mean, the Discovery Network has a trilogy or a 4-part series now about Hillsong and its whole fall, like the crumbling of that Hillsong kingdom.
And this guy hired that guy.
And this guy hires Carl Lentz to now be on the staff at his church. Now, I'm all for grace. I'm all for redemption. I'm all for forgiveness.
Second chance, yep.
I'm all for second chances. I'm just saying that you ask me what other pastors around the country are saying. They're saying, hey, like there is something like the pattern behavior is saying there's something there that just may not be right. And we all have faults. Let me just be clear and say that. I have faults. I have big glaring ones. Trust me.
Not me. I'm perfect.
The catcher is perfect. The preacher is not. However, there should be, if you fall, you should learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
And walk in a way where you're not making those errors.
And one of my favorite things about faith, about Jesus, is that he says, from what I read in the studies, that hold me up to scrutiny.
That's right.
Check my resources.
That's right.
Hold me accountable. And sounds like that's all you're doing. And I don't know if they're being able to. I don't know if they're going to survive the scrutiny that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's going to be tough if he does. I remember one of my mentors said, when man is clever, Jesus is not wonderful. Yes. And so when you try to keep doing these things to just present yourself as, the clever individual, you take a little bit away from the wonderfulness of Jesus.
Sure.
And so, I pray for him. I pray for that church because they have a great, strong influence, and I want more people to come to Christ.
Sure.
But I just think we got to be careful about how we do it.
Sure. You want them to succeed.
I do, because when they succeed, we all do.
Yeah.
I tell it like this. Think about this. This organization that was started by one man over 2,000 years ago, and his initial staff were 12 guys
that weren't perfect.
That were not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And this organization is still thriving today.
And it's an organization built on not profit, but love, kindness.
That's right.
That's a big deal.
What leadership?
Yeah.
That's the reason why I want them to win, because all we're doing is it's like, hey, it's like show and tell. Like, I'm bringing my daddy to school for show and tell. Hey guys, here's my dad who I've been telling you about. Like that's how this thing should work. And when it doesn't work like that, it makes our work a little bit more difficult.
It would be fascinating to watch and to keep track of all the subjects we talked about today, including that one.
Well, we certainly are, because we back.
We are back.
It's so
good to be back.
It's fantastic
Good to connect with you again.
Oh my goodness.
We will be back in full force.
Well, so you tell us. I mean, we're committed to doing this on a weekly basis and putting out fresh new content. But if there are some things that you want us to talk about as the preacher and the catcher, feel free to drop us a line in the comment section below. We'll be reading them. We'll be responding to them and making sure that we can, touch some of those topics.
I like it.
Yeah, man. So, good stuff.
On behalf of the preacher and the catcher?
Yeah, we're signing off. Until next week, we'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to the Preacher and the Catcher podcast. Before you go, we'd like to humbly ask if you might take a little time to like us on our Facebook page, The Preacher and the Catcher. We would also appreciate it if you might offer a positive review on iTunes or wherever you receive your podcasts. If you would like to send us a message, you can use our email address, which is contact@thepreacherandthecatcher.com. If you would prefer to send a tweet, you can find us on Twitter with @PreacherCatcher. Lastly, we would like to thank our musical director, D. Duran Goff, and our producer, Drew Michael, and Branch Creative Studios. It has been an honor to have you here with us. We hope you come back for another one of our podcasts soon.